Hey y'all, happy Sunday. This is for all women like me and all those who love and support women like me. I want to talk to you guys today about um my story of what happened when God forced me out of my old career. And the takeaway from this, like the story is going to be about exactly what happened, but the takeaway from this is about being obedient to God when you know that you're hearing him and you know that you're experiencing something that you need to pay attention to, and then not doing it or delaying doing it, and like how much just trouble you can stir up in the meantime of you delaying your obedience. Also, knowing that God doesn't waste anything. Like, yeah, you're gonna stir up trouble in the meantime, but you're gonna be able to get like just nuggets of just information, inspiration, just clarity. You're gonna be able to like pull things, like get your lessons out of the test. Like, yeah, you might have caused this stuff. But again, if God doesn't waste anything, and that Romans 8:28, all things work together, y'all know that, then even though you did this to yourself and it was not good, it still serves purpose at the end of the day. It's still gonna be something that you'll be able to pull purpose out of. So that don't mean go on and like in moving forward and delaying disobedience again just because you know, like, oh, everything's gonna work out for my good anyway. Like, don't do that. You bring yourself more stress, pain, like negativity, and delaying your blessing. Honestly, you're delaying your blessing. The delayed obedience delays your blessing. And even though you're still gonna get your blessing, hopefully, unless you go completely rogue, we don't know what might happen. But let's say you still gonna get your blessing. Like, why would you want to like delay something that's gonna be great for you? Most of the time, blessings are not just for you. You have people sitting alongside of you, adjacent to you, or people that you need to touch that's going to also benefit from your blessing. So just go ahead and do it. Don't decide to be disobedient. Well, okay, so my story was me deciding to be disobedient. Okay, so as you all might know, if you've been keeping up with some of my other stories, I was a teacher for 13 years. And I explained that I was not called to be a teacher. It was not a passion of mine. It was something, not to brag on myself, but I do a lot of things well. I do most things well. If it's intentional for me, I make sure, not on my own strength, but that not just like I'm not saying I just innately have these talents, but I apply myself and get whatever information, skill, practice, whatever I need in order to make sure that I'm doing whatever it is well, because I don't want to embarrass myself. Like, that's what it is. Like, I don't want to be out here doing something looking crazy. So teaching was that thing as well. Like, no, it wasn't something I was passionate about, but I knew that I could do it and that I was going to do whatever it was I needed to do in order to do a good job at it. So that's how I ended up being there for 13 years. And as you might know from your experience, sometimes when you're in a career that that's working for you, even if you don't really want to be in it, you can stay in it because of the benefits. You feel like your perks outweigh the disadvantages of it. Well, that was the case for quite a while. I started getting this feeling of vast unfulfillment. The thing that was fulfilling about my job was that I knew I was doing good things for people. I was helping these little minds develop on all cylinders, because I taught kindergarten. So like, they learning how to be in the world still. Like, not only they learning how to be in the world, they're learning the foundations of all other learning. So like, I took my role so important, and people, like all you kindergarten teachers out there, if you come across this, people like to talk down kindergarten, because basically if you have, a third grade education, you can teach kindergarten for sure. Like, so they think it's easy. They also think it's easy because the kids are so young, but that's not true. Yeah, older kids got mouths. Older kids have more complex curriculum to learn. But what you mean? Y'all know how demanding it is to take care of young children, how busy they are. And you don't have 2 or 3 of them. You have 20, 25 of them. So like, on top of just, corralling them, making sure the classroom don't blow up, you are actually being held to a standard to teach them literally standards of, this is what, I don't have no stop sign, Jimbo. What you doing? Okay. That this is what they have to learn in order to go into the next grade. And when I tell you, I don't know what some of these parents be doing for the first 5 years of these kids' life. I know I'm going on a tangent, but some of them kids don't know anything. You would think that these kids come in, because some of the pre-K standards are that they know their letters, their numbers, their shapes, etc. You would think that they come in already knowing this stuff. But when I tell you there's a vast majority, some of the kids come in already knowing how to read and write, simple sentences. And some of them don't even recognize their name when they see it in print. Some of them are not called by their actual name, and they don't know that their name is Jasmine instead of Pookie. So when you try to talk to them, some of these parents need to do better. That's my point. That's part of my point. But my main point is that, you get a vast variety of learning, and you have to find their accord to try to get them up to standard by the end of the year. And through that, you're fighting with the fact that they have the attention span of a gnat. So no, teaching kindergarten is not quote unquote easier. It is more demanding. Overall, the subject matter? No, subject matter is not demanding at all for you adult. But, I think you get my point. So my point is that, so to further my story, the year before COVID was the year that I started feeling like this, I'm supposed to retire here? Am I supposed to retire doing this? There is no way. And I'm just realizing this as I'm talking to y'all. This is actually the year that I started my business that I work now. And so the way that just lined up, again, God, but I wasn't listening to God. So me feeling this extreme dissatisfaction where I was, but also starting this new endeavor at the same time. It was meant to be that way, but I wasn't listening. And I just heard it. I literally just heard it as I'm talking to y'all. That's crazy. But, so, it got to the point where, you shouldn't drag going to work. And if you're working a job right now that you drag on to work, and I'm saying working a job, but if that's your career, if that's where you intend on spending decades and retiring from, baby, reconsider. You only have one of these lives. As I've said before, this program where you are who you are today, right now, only happens once. Don't do that to yourself. And I know sometimes when you already in it for 20, 25 years, you see the finish line more clearly than you try to see a whole new starting line. But when I tell you that you don't know if you're going to get into that finish line, I don't know how bad it is for you, but stress could take you right on out of that before you ever make the finish line anyway. If you're miserable, if it's having an effect on you, guys, the brain does a lot to your body. And this ain't the first time you heard this, but I'm just go ahead and say it so you can hear it again. Stress causes so many problems in your body. So many problems in your body. But not only does it cause problems in your body, again, the people adjacent to you, they are negatively affected by the stress levels that you incur every day. So, just words to the wise. It might seem hard, but this is why you want to do things that are God-led. He knows if you're considering dipping out of whatever career that you done started, and it seems like it's a mountain in front of you to be able to do that, first of all, he might be calling you to do just that. Second, he is going to lead you and take care of you. Don't let fear be the thing that stops you from doing it. But I'm just me, so let me just carry on my story. So the following year was a bunch of ups and downs, especially in teaching. Obviously, the first 3 quarters of the school year were fine, but then here come COVID and things were crazy. But it was good for me. It was crazy good for me because, I'm having a growing business now, and that extra time, even though it was just a few months, me being on a computer those few months, it decreased my stress tremendously, to where I was actually it opened up me more time to work my business. I wasn't at a schoolhouse. I was in my own house. So when everything wasn't even schedule friendly, these, I barely was doing anything for work that last quarter because we know how crazy COVID was. We were just trying to just hang on by the seat of our pants until the end of the school year. And that's exactly what I did. But like I said, it opened up a lot of time for me to focus on my business and make money. So enter the next school year. I had an opportunity. I was a grade level chair of my grade level, and I had an opportunity to make a decision. There would have to be one teacher on each grade level that did virtual learning because, as we all know, some parents were not sending their kids back to school that August. So the plan for that was, okay, well, there would be an online community for each grade level at the schools. So I had an opportunity to decide, since I was a grade level chair, who would do the online schooling. And I was no good at it. I wasn't being serious about it, that previous year with those last little 2 months. But I was like, no, I'm finna figure this out. I need to be the one to do it. But if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna have to do it right. I'm gonna have to, do it to a standard. So I was like, it's gonna have to be me. I'm sorry. It was me. It was me and this other lady wanted to consider doing it, but I had to make a selfish decision, which honestly ended up being the best decision because I know how that person performs under pressure, and it was nothing but pressure. Being the only kindergarten online teacher at our school, and I was also servicing the online community of kindergartners for 2 additional schools. So I had that pressure, and I think she would have broke under it, if I'm being honest. So it was the best decision. But again, it was a situation where things were okay for me. They were okay for me, where I could like flex my time because I was teaching online. So I mean, it was great. It was great, but I still felt unfulfilled. It was the better alternative to being in the classroom, but I was still teaching all day, and this was no longer something that I felt inside of me that I should be doing. Okay, so during this time, I actually, as you guys know, if you've seen my videos, I had a miscarriage. During this same school year while I was teaching virtually for the school year, which again, like, that made things so much better because there was a level of leniency that my boss gave me, dealing with that. And because I didn't have actual children in front of me, I was able to flex my time a lot more while I was dealing with that, while I was grieving with that. So, but moving on to the next school year, when I had to get back into the classroom, 2021 through 2022, this school year, I'm back in the classroom. I'm back in front of the kids. And this time, my boss called me to co-teach with another teacher. But, okay, we were teaching. So it was 2 teachers, me and the other teacher, with about 45 kids. So we were teaching them simultaneously. We set it up to where it wouldn't be both of us in the class together. There were 2 classrooms, which was good. There were 2 classrooms because usually it'd be all 45 kids in one space. I was like, I can't handle this. I'm already stressed out. I was already stressed out. It became so bad. Like, one day I had to like really check myself. My fuse became so short with the kids that I was just like, whoa, what's going on? What is going on? It was the stress. The stress had just, from the job, had just completely taken over me. And it didn't have nothing to do. Yeah, I was servicing a lot of kids. But honestly, that was the easiest, as far as the kids were concerned, was the easiest year. Because I had another teacher that was taking on half of the course curriculum. So I was only teaching what I knew, what I was best at, which was moving the kids in their skills. That is teaching them letters, teaching them numbers and basic concepts of how to use the numbers, how to use the letters as far as reading, writing, while the other teacher was teaching like book work. So I was teaching them the foundations, and the other teacher was teaching them how to use the foundations. So like I was saying though, this was like, as far as me ranking years, this is one of my favorite years as far as what I was actually doing in the classroom. Did that stop me from being stressed out? No. I was so unhappy. And things that I was having to deal with were things that were affecting me a lot more easily in this space. Whereas like I feel like I wasn't as affected by certain things prior. And I just knew. Again, I had been getting that knock on my heart, like, you ain't supposed to be here no more. Like, your season for doing this is up. So it was like God was like, the circumstances that God had me in was making me further and further displeased and unhappy. Further, just shining a light that I'm not supposed to be here. And I was too comfortable to move. The comfort came from me. Like, it's like, okay, what I'm moving to? The unknown? Like, I know this devil. What? I don't want to move to an unknown devil. I feel like I learned how to manage this one. Like, I knew where my paycheck was coming from and how much it was going to be. I knew when my off days was going to be. I knew so much. So much was so familiar. Even though it was highly uncomfortable, it was familiar. And that can be applied to many things in your life, not just work. It can be applied to the people that you choose to have in your life. It can even apply to housing situations. Some people been wanting to move out of their situation, but because it's so uncomfortable, but because they know what this situation comes with, they're not moving. Like just anything like that. So like that's what my job had became for me until we were still trying to get pregnant again. And I ended up going to my gynecologist, and there was a whole conversation about why I wasn't ovulating. Like, y'all can do your own research if you're not familiar, but you kind of have to ovulate in order to have babies. And I was not ovulating. And different factors could lean towards why you're not ovulating. Again, like I had a video on this. Like, this is something I wanted my babies. I wanted them really badly. Like, it was time for me to have the rest of my family. And I knew that God wanted me to have more family. So, like, we were trying and it wasn't happening. And so my gynecologist was like, you know, in trying to like do some more investigating, she was just asking me questions. And she was like, is there anything that's like stressing you, that's a high stressor for you right now? The only thing I ever felt stressed about was work. I wasn't stressed with my marriage. I wasn't stressed with, you know, the other people in my life at that time. Like, the things that I was dealing with on a day, like, I wasn't stressed with money. Like, nothing was giving me stress except for when I would pull up to the doors of that school. And whatever happened in the meantime of being in those doors until I left. It was work. So, to make a long story short, I ended up going on leave. I ended up getting into therapy for a second time. The first time I got into therapy was right after I had lost the twins. And I ended up going to therapy again. This was part of my action plan, you know, to work out, to fit things where they needed to go, so that I wouldn't have all of this stuff in my mind stressing me out. But it was also like, you have to do something. You can't just go and leave. I know you leaving this job is going to be the thing that's going to take the stress back off of you. But, you know, the paperwork of it all, we have to give a reason why you're on leave and give an action plan to state what you're doing while you're on leave so that you can be granted the leave. Okay, so my action plan was to be doing my therapy. All right, so boom. I never went back. The situation that pushed me out was that, you mean I can't have my babies unless I get rid of the stressor? Oh, the stressor gotta go. It has to go. Like, that's what happened. But like, God had been telling me, like, okay, the stressor had to go. But the situation, I wasn't going to move. He had to turn my world upside down for me to actually move and be obedient. And that's crazy. Like, lesson learned, because you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to learn from these missteps. I'm not going to be in a situation again where I'm knowing that God's telling me to move on something and I just decide not to do it. I learned a lot from this. And so, yeah, well, it was also a retrospect. In the moment, I didn't notice what was going on. I didn't notice that this was what God was doing to push me into something. I know that now. So now I can confidently say, like, I don't have to do that test again. I learned my lesson. I get it. But at the time, he had to push me out of that in that way so that I would actually be obedient and do what he was asking me to do anyway. So it was while I was on leave. First, God, like, when the thought of leave came up, God was like, yeah. So that was something I brought to God and got confirmation, like, yeah, do it. But eventually, while I was on leave, God told me, like, don't go back. Like, he told me, like, this is where you're supposed to be at. Teach is over. It's over. That chapter's closed. I didn't know it was going to be closed, but God confirmed it for me that this is happening exactly how it needed to happen. And you're not going back to teaching. So I ended up resigning. And that's the story. So what do I want you to get from this story time? I want you to know and be sure that God's directions for you are for you to follow them. Not later when you feel like it. He wants you to make a move. If you don't bust a move, he might bust your stuff all up so you can finally get it and be like, oh, I need to do what God told me to do last year. That'll solve the problems. Like, that's what it was. And that's all I got.